Seed Sector Platform, National Agricultural Seed Council, and we have a whole lot of speakers. My name is Ekum Ojogu. I'll be the facilitator for this webinar today, and I'm also the topic lead for the Collaborative Seed Program implemented by National Agricultural Seed Council. We've got a few housekeeping rules. Cameras and microphones are enabled for only speakers and panelists. Attendees are encouraged to use the chat feature to ask questions and make comments. And we kindly appeal with attendees that you address your questions to a particular speaker, and then kindly refrain from posting anything in the chat that is unrelated to this event. And I will promise that the webinar recording will be made available after the event. Next slide, please. So those are a few housekeeping rules. So the webinar program will be having some two keynote presentations, and there will be a welcome opening welcome by the Director General National Agricultural Seed Council. And we're going to have a panel session, to really discuss the issues around early generation seed. Next slide, please. Yeah, the National Seed Platform has its objective, to bring stakeholders together to discuss the emerging issues around the seed industry, and all of these are linked to the implementation of the National Seed Roadmap, all geared towards contributing to seed sector transformation in Nigeria. We meet quarterly every year. In fact, this is the second in 2022. 3 meetings are always online, and then 1 in a physical meeting in the National Seed Council Seed Connect Conference and Expo, which will be coming up sometime this year. And then today's objective for today's webinar, we want to share different experiences of different business models for early generation seed production. And then we want to gain insights. What are the factors for sustainability for early generation seed production? What are the different perspectives? What are the challenges? And what it takes, to overcome, those challenges. So these are the things we'll be looking at today. And before we proceed, you discover that there has been a dearth of early generation seed within the Nigerian seed space, and that has led to lack of quality seed, in the downstream, in the entire seed value chain, in terms of certified seeds, and then foundation seed and certified seed. It's been a major bottleneck in the seed space. And at some point, early generation seed was in the hands of the public institutions. The private sector were not fully involved, and with the quest to liberalize, the agricultural space, government felt, okay, there's a new generation seed. And also that a study was conducted sometime, the Nigerian early generation seed study. A lot of factors came out of that study. So different models have been introduced into the seed space, and this is what we'll be considering today. We have some few companies that have ventured into early generation seed production, and they're going to give us their business model that will ensure that Nigeria has quality seed at the required quantity and at the required time. So all of this we'll get today. So sit tight and enjoy all that we have today. Next slide, please. Okay, at this point in time, ladies and gentlemen, you will permit me to welcome for the opening and the welcome remarks, the Director General of National Agricultural Seed Council, who has been at the forefront of ensuring that Nigerian seed space is transformed, to deliver the seed gains of the industry. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, we give the floor to Dr. Philip Ojo, NAS Director General, for his opening remarks. DJ sir, you have the floor. Kindly unmute yourself for your welcome remarks. Hello, DJ sir. Maybe you can you unmute and give your remarks, sir, please?
Hello.
Oh, we can hear you loud and clear, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Jogu. Dear stakeholders, I want to welcome you to the National Seed webinar. This one is titled Business Models for Early Generation Seed Production. To address the challenges of making available adequate access to quality early generation seeds to produce quality certified seeds that will be used for farmers to enhance actual productivity. We all know that the production of high quality generation seeds in succession is of immense importance for food security, job creation, and prosperity of the economy. Also, we all know that early generation seed is of fundamental importance to scaling up delivery of high quality seeds to farmers and contributing to a vibrant and resilient system that will ensure sustainable access to certified seeds by farmers for actual productivity. The quality of breeder seeds affects and reflects on the quality of successive classes produced along the seed value chain. The low level of use of existing crop varieties in Nigeria compared to what happened in other climes has been noted. Effective and efficient early generation seed is of crucial importance to the success of early seed program.
Good morning. Good morning, man.
The important seeds, the potential of seed market value is actually in Nigeria very high. And for anybody to benefit from it, the best genetics must be provided with high quality seeds. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the seed platform has been making tremendous progress in gathering seed sector giants to brainstorm on the pertinent issues affecting the seed sector and mapping out strategies for all actors in the value chain to take responsibility for enhanced seed sector. It is against the background that we are looking at the business model for EGS production through experience sharing, gaining insights into how to bridge the supply gap, among others. At the level of the council, we are poised to create an enabling environment to stimulate sustainable private sector growth in the seed sector by allowing market forces to dictate which varieties are sold, with the overall objective of ensuring that farmers have adequate access to improved seeds. Also, we as a council have registered a number of both national and international seed companies to ensure this is done. The council is also trying its best to enforce the Seed Act, and we are working on regulations of the PVP Act. Our commitment to suppressing counterfeit seed trade is gaining momentum, and partnerships are being strengthened with relevant stakeholders for the collective goal of having a seed sector that is resilient and sustainable. Distinguished shareholders and stakeholders, my charge to us all today is to come up with profitable business models that will guarantee adequate production of EGS to meet the current and future demands of quality seeds at the farm level. Therefore, stakeholders are enjoined to put in place an adequate EGS demand forecasting system to meet the requirements all geared towards improved agricultural productivity. I want to once again welcome you to this webinar. And at this juncture, I have the honor and privilege to declare the 2022 second edition of the Seed Sector webinar open, and I wish all of us very, very useful and fruitful deliberations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Director General, National Agricultural Seed Council, the man who has been working tirelessly to ensure that Nigeria has a resilient and sustainable seed sector. Thank you for that wonderful words.
Yes, on a final note, I just want to tell you that you couldn't see my face because you did not enable my video. So sorry about that.
Okay, I think that's from the technical side.
All right,
the
no
background
problem.
is okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So we're grateful. Thank you very much. I think stakeholders in the industry are very happy and excited with what you're doing in the seed space. And with your support, the more we know that the Nigerian seed sector will be transformed. Okay, we'll move forward right away. We'll be having next slide, please. We will be taking the first keynote presentation. The first business model will be shared with us by Mr. Brighton Karume. He is the Managing Director of EcoBasic Seed. EcoBasic Seed has seen the gap that has existed within the industry and decided to come on board to ensure that this gap is being addressed, being covered up to ensure that they produce high quality early generation seed for seed companies and all other end users. At this point in time, Mr. Karume, you have the floor for your presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ojogu. Good morning, good afternoon to all the stakeholders. Can you please show the slide? Or I can share it from this side. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Okay, I'll start off with the company overview. Our mission statement, the EcoBasic mission statement, is to produce foundation seed of the highest quality and purity, thereby enhancing the profitability of seed companies in West Africa. The vision statement, we need to be recognized as West Africa's most reliable source of high quality foundation seed. And our focus seed crops at this stage are hybrid seed maize, and PBR cowpeas. Next slide, please. Next slide. Our business model will create the value as outlined below. We need to support the genetic gain aspiration through enhanced speed to the market with better, newer hybrids. I think the DG, NASC DG, has mentioned that, it's a lot of research which has been done, which is ongoing with our research institute, producing different varieties, but some of them, they are not seeing the farmers' field. So we need to make sure to encourage our breeders, to make sure also the farmers get, good seed in their business. The other issue, we need also to be able to generate hybrid seed demand. Therefore, we need to increase the adoption rate. I think we are aware that the country, in terms of hybrid adoption, is around 10%. So it means 90% of our farmers they are using hybrids, OPV maize, open coordinated varieties. We also need to be able to solve systemic EGS bottlenecks in a commercially sustainable way. It means this company is modeled in such a way that it is a profit, it's for profit. So we actually producing foundation seed and selling to the seed companies who are our customers. There's also need to have a robust and efficient route to the market for publicly developed seed-based technologies. A lot of varieties have been bred from the 1930s and so on, and a number of them have not really seen the farmers' fields, or their life cycle is a bit shorter. So I think with our coming, we'll be able to work with the companies, and they'll give us their orders as we go and produce and to supply them. We also need to be able to mitigate risks associated with foundation seed production, issues to do with the costs, quality, and genetic purity. A lot of our varieties, especially hybrid seed maize, has also been bred in the country, but I think a lot of them, they've just died a natural death due to genetic quality issues. There is also cost-effective for all interested parties, the seed companies, research, and so on. In other words, EcoBasic is just coming to cover that gap. So it will help for other seed companies to really concentrate on distribution and selling the seed. Next slide, please. Our key success pillars are: we are an independent company. In other words, what I'm trying to put across here, we are not aligned to any other organization or company, but the key issue here, we also have to be work with other players, including the regulatory authority and a lot of players on the landscape. There will be no competition or conflict of interest. We are not going to be engaged in downstream certified seed sales or even the production part of it. We need also to be trusted by seed companies or our customers, so that we can be able to handle their different, parental materials and confidential information. We also need to have demand driven. In other words, we produce seed according to signed contracts with the seed companies. We don't just produce for the sake of production, producing. Financial stability. The business also has to be profitable, so that we can continue to supply high quality EGS to our business customers. We also need to own our own seed production farm, so that we'll be able to control productivity and quality issues. Next slide. Next slide, please. What the expected future impacts: forecast sustainability structures, resources required, mobilization plans. What we are planning to do by end of 2027, this is 5-year period, as dictated by our incubator. We need to increase productivity and profitability of both seed companies and farmers. We need also to generate over $1 billion in revenue by year 2027. We should also be able to break even by that end of 2027. We believe that a cumulative of 30,000 hectares of certified seed will also be planted by 2027. At least that will be able to cover, to produce 3 million hectares of maize grain. We need also to have an active presence in at least 2 countries in West Africa. We also plan to be independent from our incubating partner and funder in 5 years down the road. If you can have a look at this table below, can you scroll it up a bit, please? Just a bit. Can you scroll this slide a bit?
Mr. Karume, it could be your browser. I think it's clear from end here.
Okay. No problem. I need to go back to that slide. There's a table which I needed to highlight there. Just a few issues. Thank you very much. Yeah, so this is just a summary of what I've been saying at the top there concerning the volumes we are targeting. In alignment with our business plan, we are targeting, say, by next year, we should be able to sell 40 tons. If you look at the second last column, we'll be able to sell 205, but the cumulative will be 605 tons. And the revenues are actually done, I mean, in that orange color, where you see under cumulative by year 2027, we are targeting to get something like 3.6 million dollar revenue in for the seed sales. Next slide. Right, on the sustainability issues for EcoBasic, obviously, we have to have demand driven. Like I said earlier, the seed has to be produced according to the signed contracts from the customer, who are the seed companies. There should also be an uninterrupted flow of breeder seed from various breeding programs. And for us also to work very well, we need to put issues to do with the people, processes, procedures, and protocols to enhance genetic purity, quality, consistency, and timeliness. There's also need to have effective supply and demand planning to ensure continuous supply that fosters reliability. In other words, we also work both with the research institutes, who are the suppliers of breeder seed, and also the seed companies who uptake the foundation seed were produced. So we need to have a planning on both sides. There's also need to have a specialized infrastructure that includes land to produce, process, test seed quality, and cold store facilities. We also believe that having a common seed parentage, it will help us, to leverage on aggregation of economies of scale. In case companies are producing, varieties with common parentage, it will be more efficient rather than to have a lot of lines. It means you have also to spread them across in terms of production, and you need to manage isolation issues. Next slide. Next slide. What the challenges faced so far, and how we think we can mitigate we've come up with some points down here. One of the key issues we believe that I think for this business to do well in future, we need to own a foundation seed farm or to produce the EGS. By having this, it means productivity and quality issues are really under control. Our growers are really poorly resourced. I think we are all aware of that. In other words, they don't have irrigation facilities, seed handling facilities. So therefore there's need for capacity building and possibly have the centralized facilities like farm machinery to be able to assist them. This is the lower side. That means there's more profits. Lack of seed agronomy data on EGS, seed parent trials are necessary. Because when you are doing hybrid, you need to know, maybe some hybrids require what we call split planting, where yeah, I'm almost there. Thank you very much. Okay. All right. There's also limited quantities of breeder seed from the National Agricultural Research Institutes. So there's need to provide 1 or 2 years breeder seed forecast, working with them. Majority of seed companies don't have experience with hybrids. That means there's need to also doing fertilizer, chemicals, and almost everything is gone up. The next slide. On the last slide here, just to do the recommendations, we feel that I think there's need for us to release say a 300-hectare farm for on-seed production. And obviously this farm, it needs to be supported in terms of, developments And that's the list of the developments which are put up, the ones which are in ticks. The last point there, obviously, we also need to be producing the foundation seed both in summer and wet off season, so that we can meet the demands for the customers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Karume from Eco Basic Seed. He has given us their business model. Obviously, what came out very strong that it has to be demand driven and there has to be effective demand and supply planning. And at the top of the production, it's quality control, also targeted at productivity. And the aim of all of this is to increase the productivity of seed companies and farmers, which will enhance food security in Nigeria and enhance livelihood. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, we're going to get another business model. You know, this time around, it's more of the vegetative propagated crops. Ladies and gentlemen, again, welcome to take on the presentation. Dr. Eloho Messi, the seed production expert with IITA Go Seed. Dr. Messi, you have the floor. You have just 10 minutes for your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mojogu, and greetings to everyone. It's Mercy from IITA Ibadan, Nigeria. Next slide, please. Yeah, so I'm just going to be giving an overview of our business model here at IITA Go Seed as regards our vegetatively propagated crop and cassava as a case study. Next slide. And the outline of my presentation is going to run through our mission, vision statement, as well as our coverage, then our approaches, to the sustainable seed system and the challenges encountered while going through our operations, as well as next step and recommendations for a sustainable seed system for cassava. Next slide. So, firstly, this is the overview of Go Seed as a seed company. It's a private seed company that is a spin-off from IITA. So although it's from IITA, but it runs by itself. So it's a unit of the IITA Business Incubation Platform, which was established in 2016. And as a seed company, a private seed company, we are registered, with CAC as a limited liability company. So the mission statement of IITA Go Seed is to offer high quality breeder and foundation seed of the best genetic varieties at affordable prices to improve farmers' productivity and product profitability. While the vision statement is to be recognized as Africa's leading pathway for the distribution of clean genetic varieties of generative and vegetative crops developed from the best technologies and fundamental to improving yield and productivity of farmers by eradicating farm-level poverty and enhancing consumer nutrition level. So in terms of our focus crops, we cover cassava, yam, maize, soybean, and cowpea. But for the purpose of this presentation, all the information I'll be giving will be limited to just cassava. So in this wise, we can see that we have production. So this is a production of the cassava EGS we are currently producing. For in 2021, we had the breeder seed of 120 hectares and foundation seed of about 20 hectares. And the reason why we'll have this is because we are looking at a situation whereby eventually we'll be solely breeder seed producer, because why we're still playing in the foundation sphere is because the vegetative seed system is not as advanced as the generative, that's for the cereal and the other grain crops. So we are saddled with the responsibility to also develop that system. So even before the advent of the BASIS project, which is where the IITA Go Seed idea emanated from, it was non-existent. The foundation seed production for cassava was non-existent. So we had to come into that sphere and play. So while we are doing this, we are also, raising other capable individual farmers we are trying to limit, our involvement in the foundation seed production, but as well as, however, we want to ensure that we have good production of the breeder seed so that when we set up this foundation seed people, they will have enough breeder seed, to go ahead with the downstream production. So in this wise, we have also established about 14 or so foundation seed producers who are currently producing about 170 hectares of foundation seed of cassava. All of these are being inspected by NACS, and we can find this information also in the cassava seed tracker, which is a tool that is being domiciled in the NASC. Next slide, please. So in terms of our operations and approach, how we are running, we are very, very focused on the EGS production and sales, and this we are looking at quality. We are using everything available to ensure that we get the best variety, we get the best quality of varieties. Like I've said earlier, we are also encouraging entrepreneurship through seed producers, setting them up, linking them up to NACS, and also, showing them the business case of what it is. This is not business as usual. You can make money out of this. However, you have to do it right. You have to go with the compliance of the quality of the regulatory body. Then we're very huge on technology. We're very huge on technology. We use several technologies, to get our EGS seed. We have the technology for cassava. For cassava, for example, we use the SH technology to produce mass-produced, especially for the improved variety. Like the previous speaker said, there are several improved varieties that have not seen market, that have not seen farmers' fields. So with this technology, we are able to quickly get these varieties out, and for the newly improved one and released. Also in yam too, we have several technologies. Also, we have aeroponics, hydroponics, and all that we're using for the production of this EGS. Then quality control, we're also huge on quality control. We don't play around, that work closely with NACS to ensure that even from the nuclear seed production, all our facilities are well inspected. And we continue also with training for farm management is also key. We don't only want to make available good seeds to farmers, we also want to make available the whole package in terms of farm management and all that. So we have several tools we also make available to farmers. Next slide, please. So in terms of challenges, well, this challenge on the top of our list is the insecurity and herdsmen invasion. We know that is a common, popular, but we cannot estimate this. So it's still a very key challenge in all our production, and even the production of our seed producers. We use lots of outgrowers, to establish our field. Because of the bulkiness of cassava, we can't have it just produced in a place. So we have to decentralize production. So we use outgrowers to do this. So, but in this, some outgrowers are not as transparent as they should be. However, we're looking out for ways to ensure that they will do the right thing. So we properly vet them and do proper monitoring to ensure that they come out with the best. Yes, we are still saddled with limited planting material, even though we are working earnestly on using several technologies. So I would say this is becoming a less challenging factor. Then for logistic, at least for obvious reason, right now, like I talked about the movement of bulky planting materials, we know what the cost of diesel is saying now. It has been very discouraging on both the producers and even the customers, the clients who are buying. Then because of the new technologies we're onboarding, we're using, I would say the EGS production cost is not cheap at all. However, we are not ready to step down because we know the quality that is coming out. And with this, we know in the long run, everybody is going to benefit from this. So in doing this, we are encouraging also seed producers to explore coming together and aggregate themselves into cooperatives so that it will be easy for them to access facilities in financial institutions. Next slide, please. So, for the next steps, it's just related to what I've been saying. We're looking at working with more serious and more effective seed producers so that they can increase their acreage wherever they are and help with the decentralized production. We're looking also at strengthening the company's financial base because we need to keep running. It's very important that we come like even if not so profitable, at least we should be able to have our operations in place, operation costs without going down the drain. And we continue to strengthen our seed producers, facilitate training programs, increase their learning and access to improved varieties as well as good agronomic practices. For the technologies, we're still working on that. For instance, for the cassava, we're looking at producing smaller planting materials that would substitute these big bulky materials, as well as they will still contain the genetic purity they should have. So these are an ongoing research that we hope to unveil very soon. Based on, we are getting some successes already, and we'll be having some seed producers, trying it out. Then networking and outsourcing is still very, very important because we have a huge demand. That's for cassava. There's a huge demand, but there's still a problem of people, linking up and getting information and resources as they should. Next slide, please. So in terms of recommendation, like we said, the cassava seed business is gaining lots of traction in the country. And we know that with technologies on board, we're able to release new varieties or make available to farmers. So we want to really encourage seed enterprise to come on board, as well as aggregating smallholder farmers and seed producer into cooperative. That has been, I'm emphasizing it again, is very key. Financial institutions to also dig deep into new opportunities in seed production, well, at least offer low interest for those people. Then partnership and collaboration should not stop, it should continue. This is very key and important for EGS business. Then we still need the active involvement and investment of the government and the policy stakeholders. In EGS production is not cheap. That's the truth. Without being, without means it is not cheap. We still need this support if we want this, because this is something that will benefit the whole country as a whole. So we need the support, whether EGS institution or organizations are profitable or not. We need the backup of the government. Next slide, please. I think that will be the last. And thank you all for listening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mercy, for keeping to time. Dr. Mercy has emphasized the increase of awareness, and then strengthening capacity of our growers and also farmers, to also adopt new technology. And one of her last major points she emphasized on or mentioned was the issue of partnership and collaboration. We all need to join hands together to do this together. Ladies and gentlemen, without really wasting much time, we will be going into a panel session right away. And to anchor the panel discussion session, is an international seed expert. Dr. Walter Debove is a senior advisor, seed systems, Wageningen University and Research of the Netherlands. He's been involved in seed business for close to 30 years or more, and he's going to anchor the panel session. Dr. Walter, you have the floor. I will allow you to do the introduction of your panelists. I hope that it's okay by you. So Dr. Walter, you have the floor.
Okay, I have muted. I hope that I am visible also already to the panel. I'm not visible.
You are visible, you are.
Okay, that's good. Okay, I don't see myself, but that's good. Thank you very much, Mr. Ojogo. It's really a pleasure to host this panel with you. And I want to elaborate a little bit more on the basis of the two examples that we have had so far, from EcoBasic Seed and To Go Seed, which are two different business models, still very close to each other. And it's really great to see that we have 4 business models that we are discussing today. And I think that's really already a very great position that we are in Nigeria, that we have different players moving into this space and also covering different crops. And I think we will have, the audience will have a good idea what will be the variation of business models, and what does it mean for seed companies and other stakeholders in the seed sector to see, okay, if these specialized companies or offshoots of research institutes can do for them. So to really see where are we now and where we want to go. So we will be having first in the panel 2 other persons joining us. We have Mr. Anthony Job, who is with Value Seeds, and he's responsible for basic seed production. We have also Mr. Thenkot Nezenza of Umudike Seeds. And then later on, we will also bring into the panel Mr. Brighton and Dr. Mercy. First, I would like to call upon Mr. Anthony Job from Value Seeds to come forward. Please, can you unmute yourself and also put on your camera? So I understand that Value Seed, as a seed company, has started to engage in EGS production itself, because your main part of your business is a commercial seed production for certified seed and also in sales yourself. So, and I understand also that AGRA, the Alliance for GME, what made Value Seeds come to a decision to start to do EGS production yourself?
Okay, good morning, good afternoon once again, everybody, and thank you, Walter, for having me in this session. So just like you said, I work for Value Seeds, but Value Seed now has a partner company called Value Basic. So what Value Basic does basically is to cater for the early generation seed needs, and it's an independent company too, for the main focus of commercializing early generation seeds production. So why did we make this move? Just like the other speakers had said, there's that in the quality and quantity of early generation seeds. And of course, that's a major bottleneck affecting the seed systems in general. So this was done for the main purpose to be able to guarantee the quality and the quantities of required seeds, and also to be able to expand production, because we have so many farmers to be serviced, and this issue of quality seeds is a big problem. Thank you.
Yeah, so you Value Seed has created another company that is Value Basic Seed. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So you do the basic seed, start to do the basic seed production in that specialized company for your. So what kind? Because the varieties come from somewhere else. Can you elaborate a little bit what kind of arrangement you have with breeders and their organizations to ensure that you have a continuous supply of inbred lines or EGS, breeder seed from them, and also how you ensure that you get new varieties? What kind of arrangements do you have with the breeders?
Okay, thank you. So we are very intentional, about collaborations with breeders and research institutions, both national research institutes and also the international research institutes. So we're in collaborations with IITA, CIMMYT, Africa Rice, NCRI, and so many other research organizations. And of course, we are very involved, we give indents ahead of time of what our needs would be. We're closely monitoring the research space also. We collaborate effectively, for instance, with the IITA MACE program. So, we evaluate some of the trials emanating from these research institutes. And of course, from that, we have like first-hand information of, potential varieties that are going to be released. And once this gets released, of course, we're game to commercialize that. Then in recent times, we've also been very involved in licensing agreements, like just very recently, last week to be precise, on the 7th of July, we signed a non-exclusive licensing agreement with the former University of Makurdi on the commercialization of FOAMP3, which was a newly developed variety that was released this year. So, such arrangements like this keep us abreast of happenings in the industry, and we are able to have good access and quick access to new technologies of the very best varieties.
Yeah, what was mentioned earlier also by Brighton, that in this yield gap and in also this yield gain, that you really try to get the new varieties and to make to be close to the breeders. When they start to release, you really have access to those. That's, I think, is really critical, because not only quality seed is important for farmers, but especially quality seed of more performing and new varieties is very important. Really nice to hear that. So you produce in the specialized company, do you produce and you produce the EGS of various crops, as I hear? Is this only for value seed, or can another company also come to you to make orders for EGS for some crops?
Okay, yeah, thank you. No, the production is not for value seeds alone, but of course, value seed is the first customer. They say charity begins at home. So for now, of course, our major customer is value seeds, and
Yes.
it's partner farmers or it's outgrower farmers. But we are also open to working with other seed companies. Presently, we service about 23 seed companies in various capacities: maize, rice, soybean, cowpea, and all of that. And we keep expanding. We in the near future, we believe we'll be able to stand even independent of value seeds.
So you're already working with 22 seed companies, others. So that I really is really promising. That of course you have a mother company that started and that took the initiative to make the foundation, and then later on you see that many others. So it really shows the need, and we are talking about different EGS specialized entrepreneurship in this seminar. It's really interesting to see. So if you, I don't know if I can ask, but if you look at value seeds now, which is your mother company or still your mother company, to what degree in the seed that a value seed would put on the market for some of the crops that in EcoBasic you also produce the EGS, to what degree do they still need to source EGS outside? Or is it primarily for most of the crops they already are able to produce this EGS through value seed, basic seed? So what is do they still depend on EGS produced outside, or is most of for value seeds is already done through your company?
Okay, so yes, for now, most of all the EGS needs are met by Value Basic. Like you mentioned earlier, we got support from AGRA with the Early Generation Seeds project, which ran for 3 years and was recently concluded early this year. Of course, the key focus, for the project was rice, maize, and soybean, which of course occupy about 80% or so of the EGS trade in Nigeria at the moment, if not more than that. So for these crops, Value Basic has been able to satisfy all the needs of value seeds. We just buy a little from other sources, especially for crops. Like for instance, we're still we're not yet there yet with cowpeas, for instance. Also with sorghum, we just started looking into those too. So for such crops, yes, we still need to rely on other institutions to get them. But for the main products that value seed markets, maize, rice, and soybean, all the needs are met by Value Basic.
Okay. Congratulations. I think that is really a big achievement that you have made it. And I think you set a big example to some of the other people in the audience also. Of course, there's a little bit of balance because you service not only your mother company, but you also service many others in the provision of EGS. So in establishing value seed, basic seed, and also discussing this arrangement with research with breeders, what is the kind of lesson that you learn from seed companies of the same size like Value Seed, if it really makes sense to set up their own daughter company, or because we know that the seed gap in Nigeria is tremendous. There's room for many more players. Of course, every company like Value Seed and the others want to grow, but there is a tremendous demand. What is a key lesson that you learned in setting up your basic seed specialized company that maybe can inspire also other companies of a bigger size to make similar steps?
Okay, so like we all know, the early generation seed enterprises, is still evolving and still, I won't say it's at its infancy stage, but it's still maturing. We've been in this business now that's value basic, as a standalone company now. We've been in this for almost 4 years. But of course, even before the setting up of the sister company, Value Seeds was involved to some extent in some of its own foundation seed production. Of course, in the course of this project, the Agra supported project, which I earlier mentioned, we learned so much, and for the purpose of this, the project was really strong on capacity development, because that's key. Early generation business is sensitive, serious business, and many seed companies in Nigeria, I must say, don't have that capacity, to be able to handle this successfully. The whole idea of having the early generation seed enterprise as standalone is to ensure that all the necessary steps and regulations are taken. In general, it's said that yes, there's a problem with early generation seeds in the country and even the quality of certified seeds. So if this is not, tackled by the experts, those that have invested, the time, the resources, and in terms of ensuring that they get, only the best quality EGS. So I think for now, commercializing the EGS space is a good thing. Very welcome development from the Seed Council, and of course with the interest of the nation at heart. But for now, I think those that have really, invested a lot in this and been able to build capacity, IITA, GoSeed, EcoBasic, I think for now, let them do the handling. Maybe in the near future, as the space opens up, I think more players can come in. But for now, if this is just decentralized, I think the purpose of this will be defeated.
Yeah, I really, because I was involved very much in studying, for example, how in the United States the EGS landscape is. And you have also a number of these kind of specialized companies, and these are a few. Whereas the big companies, they would do it themselves, the big multinational, but some companies, they really involve and EcoBasic seed. So that's, I think it's important to see what are the kind of inspirations we have from mature seed markets like the United States. And I think you're right to say, okay, if we need to have a specialized space of a few companies that compete, but don't overestimate too many. So that means also that you already have 23 clients, and I'm sure EcoBasic seed has also a number of clients. And to go has also different, and you may specialize in the future, but we are still in this nascent stage. Thank you very much for your contribution. I would like to go now to another guest that we have on the panel. Thank you so much, and I really appreciate and congratulate you with the achievements you have made so far. That's really very nice to hear. Let's move to Mr. Thankot Nzenwa. Is he around? And hello, good morning, Mr. Thankot.
Yeah, good morning, Dr. Walter. Yeah.
So Umedica Seed was incorporated in 2018. It was is a research station offshoot, as by the National Root Crop Research Institute to produce and sell EGS of root and tuber crops. So similar, a little bit similar to what also Dr. Mercy has been telling us that IITA. So you're operating also a little bit in the similar space.
Yeah.
But what I hear also is that you are really bringing new technologies such as high ratio propagation facilities, an immersion bioreactor, and also aeroponics into the system to really foster, at least for root and tuber crops, the EGS supply. Yeah. And you do that, for example, for CDMs. Can you provide some insights in the business model of your company, targeting, for example, at young?
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Walter. So Umedica Seed is an education company, and actually we need to understand the challenge in the seed system we get from the informal market or from the open market. And for us to have a robust and a resilient viable seed system, we need a shift from the former system to the former seed system, and which is what we are trying to achieve. And also projects like the Useful project and the Basic project that have created the blueprint for economic viability of this system. So we are leveraging on this roadmap created by this project, and also we created seed-on entrepreneurs along the seed value chain. So some of the seed-on entrepreneurs.
We're losing your sound. Maybe you should unmute yourself. Hear you back again.
Okay. So like I was saying, so in order to address the gap in the seed system, we partner with seed-on entrepreneurs who have direct links to these farmers. With our technology, we rapidly multiply these varieties, improved varieties, so that they can get to the farmers. And this model ensures a continuous pipeline of supply of farmers prepared varieties, and also increased traceability in terms of quality and the seed source, and also strengthen the supply chain.
Yeah, so so you talk about direct sales to farmers, and if we talk about EGS, we always talk for the more earlier classes of seed. Then seed producers are in between that. So is then Umudike Seed doing basically the whole process along the whole seed value chain of foundation seed, of the root and tuber crops, and then the certified, and then to the farmers? So you do the whole thing yourself, or are you covering the whole chain, or are you specialized more on the really early generation seed?
Okay, our main focus is on the early generation seed, and we partner with seed companies and seed producers, and we also onboard seed-on entrepreneurs who we actually train and also ensure that they follow our production guidelines and also adhere to NAC production guidelines to ensure quality.
Yeah, okay.
So we are not involved in the value chain. Yeah.
Okay, so you stay at the start more of the value chain. Okay, good. So can you give a little bit more insight in the variation of your business partners? You mentioned companies, seed producers. How many? Because before, like for value seed, we heard from that even they come from value seeds. Now Value Basic has 22 customers to work with. What is the variation that you are working with?
Okay, so we have specification, and we train them and monitor the production, and also we have over 10 entrepreneurs that we onboarded also, and we link them up to NAC to ensure that whatever they're selling is of high quality. Also, then also seed producers, we also partner with them also to produce. Actually, we produce with the breeder and the foundation seed, and then some of these partners produce the foundation and the certified seed.
Okay, so can you explain a little bit, because I can in that really finance, do you still depend on external funded, or can you cover your costs primarily by your sales of early generation seed for those root and tuber crops?
Okay, so we are still barely 2 years into this, and we still depend partially on external, funded, and also we generate revenue. And for the viability, we see that there is an opportunity here. And for yam and cassava, they are widely consumed by virtually all households in Nigeria, and the demand is very high. And especially for the seed yams, there is also a great export potential in Africa and beyond. So with the African Continental Free Trade Agreement that is reaching consensus among African leaders, we see this will increase intra-African trade and also increase pressure on seed companies like us to increase production and export of these EGS to other African countries and beyond.
Yeah, we know for root and tuber crops, and I'm being Dutch, and we are very big in the potato seed industry. We know that from grain crops, root and tuber crops is a very specialized, and I see a big smile on the face of Dr. Mercy also. It's a very specialized business, but it also can be a pretty profitable business. But it really takes time to move forward. So So you are very close to the research institute. So they also guarantee a strong the flow of new varieties for your EGS supply. Can you explain a little bit how that arrangement is?
Yeah, they do. Actually, we have an existing relationship with National Root Crop Research Institute and International Institute of Tropical Agriculture. So we rely and leverage on this existing relationship to get improved varieties of these crops, and also when new varieties are available, also we also get access to them.
Yeah, okay.
So
just out of curiosity, because if you work with different producers and companies, I don't need to get all, but how do you define the prices for EGS of yams or cassava? Is that more? How are you developing defining the prices for that?
Yeah, it is very tricky, but actually what we do is to ensure that the pricing should be able to to sustain our business in the long run, and the pricing has to be competitive. And if you set the price too low, you will be selling at a loss and at an unsustainable profit margin, so market share. But what we try to do is to calculate the cost of bringing our product to the market, then add a percentage profit margin that is reasonable to keep us in business.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that you are taking this together with IITA and others in the root and tuber crops, this piloting role. Because we are talking about root and tuber crops, let me change a little bit the program and first go back to some of the questions of Dr. Mercy. So we stay in the root and tuber crops, and then later on we go to Mr. Brighton to go back to the grain crops. So thank you very much, Mr. Thankov, for sharing your experience, and very happy that you are working in that. So let's now go back to Dr. Mercy. You gave us already a very interesting introduction earlier of the work that IITA is doing, also is setting up a new company in GoSeed. And you are involved in several crops. But we know, and I've been involved in the EGS, studying it for quite some time. And we know that for some crops, EGS production is highly profitable. And for some other crops, it's going to be very complicated to make it completely commercially viable. If you especially talk about groundnut or cowpea, even sometimes for some other grain crops, maize is going to be viable, rice most likely also, but some others not. Mm-hmm. So can you explain a little bit how in GoSeed you look at that to see how you balance out the needs for those crops where EGS supply is going to be profitable, and other crops which are still very important for Nigeria because of food security and nutrition, we still need to have invest in EGS. So how does GoSeed, how do you play out with that? Because you're involved in different crops.
Thank you very much, Walter. Even though that's a tricky question, but I'll try to answer it. Yeah.
It's okay.
So, yeah, we have, we work on these several crops. So the first thing is for any company is focus. When you're able to have your focus, then you know what you're going to do. So I believe these crops I've listed here, these are not all the crops that are, that are important in Nigeria. However, these are focus crops. So we look at the production trend, we look at the demand trend and everything, because like I said, we would not be happy to run out of business. However, we are in a situation in the country and all over the world where we cannot afford any form of genetic erosion. So we have to keep that in mind, that because even cassava now, as profitable as it is now, in the previous years, it wasn't like this. It was just a food security crop, and that was it. It wasn't anything close to commercial or a cash crop. But today we can tell what it is. So in the same vein, we cannot afford to. So this is where I was looking at, okay, the involvement of the public institution, of the government, where they have to sustainably ensure that even though this is not the focus of this EGS company, can we work to them for them to conserve some of this crop? Can we, these crops that they do not have demand or they don't have the market, can we support? Because we cannot expend our resources on something we're not going to get back. It's very, 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 very important that we work, like we have to ensure that the company is running and all that. But at the same time, we don't want to kill these other crops. So that's why we keep coming, telling that this is the importance. We can work with the research institute as well to say, okay, we are like an intermediary between the government and this research institute. Can you have this thing conserved in your institute? We'll support, we'll ensure that it's always there. And when this diversification and all that, when they come up, we have something to always fall back on. We know what's happening, the Ukraine and Russia war, the effect it's having on food security. So I won't say that we should put all our eggs in one basket by just focusing on the important crops that are profitable now. But let's just bear in mind that these ones are
Let me come in here, because on one side, of course, the relationship between companies like the ones we have today in the panel is important, and they need to be economically viable as a business. But if that is going to take place only, it means we will have the EGS commercial companies targeting only on those crops that are commercially viable. Basically, that we will leave out many of the legumes. Yeah.
And that's dangerous.
That's dangerous because if we know what are malnutrition, what the figures are for Nigeria and many other countries in the region. And we need to get good varieties. And some of the other crops also, that are more drought prone, like the sorghums and the others, yes? So that means, but we cannot push for companies like yours to do stuff which is not put them out of business, because then you need to do. So that's really a balance that I'm looking for also. So I think also in your call in your presentation, you made it clear to say, okay, we need to have clear business partners. But on one side for the genetics, for getting the right varieties in, and I was discussing that already with Mr. Job already, how the relationship with the breeders is, and that's, I think, for all of you very clear. But the other side, we need to see, okay, how do we do that? We need to look for also kind of public support, and I know that from studying, again, other countries like in India and other places, that they can really have a kind of semi-public support for doing those crops which are not profitable for you. So, do you foresee, is IITA and To Go Seed involved in any discussions, for example, because you're involved in cowpea, how to develop a business model for cowpea that is more sustainable?
There've been several projects here and there that I know that IITA has been involved. I can't give a good answer to that because my focus is on the vegetative crop.
I know.
However, yes, so IITA Go Seed has been involved in several projects we have the Alluvia project and some other. So, and I believe in such project because it has to do with, the production of this EGS and the commercialization. Definitely such project would not want to fly without having a good business plan or operational plan, as it were. So I believe that. So it's just the direction of the discussion that it has to be more focused, more intentional to say, okay, this is what we're setting to achieve and all that. So that is why I know that there have been some discussions, several discussions. If we can have people tailor this discussion to what the needs are really on ground, then I think it would make a lot of sense.
I think it makes clear, because if you take these profitable crops, you run it as a business model. If these non-profitable crops, these become more projects where you talk with donors
and they have
government. And unfortunately, we can't have a sustainable flow of resources for that, but that means a project. Let me move a little bit back to your core expertise, and with cassava also, you're doing, I think, very interesting work, because you also bring EGS both in the formal sector and the more informal seed systems. Can you share a little bit more insights how you balance that out, working with more the commercial avenue with seed companies or bigger producers, and also the more informal seed systems that also need to get access to EGS because they are a big part of the seed sector?
I agree. So thank you very much. That's been a very interesting question. I will say I'm excited to have been in the team that have tried to work that out. And in that regard, NACT has been very, very proactive in ensuring that that works. So like I said, the cassava seed system wasn't as advanced as the grain and cereal crops and all that. We just started a couple of years back. So it was just starting from almost nothing. But now we have a very good system and people are getting more awareness. So I think the first thing was we did not need to, and what NACT did was not to crucify the people who were not in this formal sector. Rather, they were attracted to the formal sector. You know, having, like I said, for cassava, we have over 50 varieties and farmers have access to just maybe 2 or 3. But when you are bringing a system on board to say you can have series of varieties and looking at, you know, the diverse nature of the industry now, they are doing different products. Now we have, you know, the knowledge base of what variety is most suitable for what products. And you know, this is an information that doesn't come cheap. And if you're giving it to a farmer to say, I can tell you, you have a market, if I tell you this variety, I can tell you the market, I think that farmer will be very willing to say, okay, what do I need to do to get access to that variety? So, okay, if you have to get access, then you have to come into the formal sector. You have to ensure that you are registered with NACT. You have to ensure that you know the source of your seed, or you are getting your seed from known source. You have to ensure that you'll be ready to pay for the certification. And amazingly, this has been very, very, you know, responsive in the positive manner. So, and they're also getting results for what they've been taught. Like we've been told this and we're not getting this. So it's been what they've been told. So we are getting more responses from people who have been in the informal sector coming into the formal sector. Now, so it's a gradual process. We don't expect it to be automatic, but then I think we are gaining ground, and I must really commend NACT for a job well done in that regard. They didn't crucify, just, you know, empower the people, give them the knowledge they need to know, and, you know, tell them where to go to, where the needs arises, and that has been worthwhile in the long run.
Now, Dr. Mercy, I think that it's very nicely said, because what you do is also basically what the others in the panel also say is, of course, EGS is one of the challenges, but EGS is also to foster the whole seed value chain in your relationship with the seed companies, with the informal producers, and also the other and also the breeders. So you are a kind of catalyzer in professionalizing the whole seed sector, and you do that in direct collaboration with the NACT, who is basically is delegated authority in Nigeria by the government to arrange that. I see somebody raise his hands. I would appreciate if you would put your question in the chat, then I could bring that also on. Rather, if you write your question, then I would be able to put it to the panel. So one final question that I want to put to you is, how do you see the role that you're bringing in the seed sector, moving more independent, moving your own direction? Where do you really see to go seed move in let's say the 5-6 years ahead?
Okay, so the first thing is what we have been starting to do, which is to develop the foundation seed sector for cassava. I'm seeing that growing, you know, rapidly in terms of quality. We don't just want to have people producing, we want to have the real people, the right people, the serious people producing that. And of course, GoSeed, because we have limited institutes or limited organization that should be producing the breeder seed, then we can focus on that, because it's going to make us focus and have that quantity and quality of material. We're not doing foundation, but we know we have good hands. So even when this, and it's going to also facilitate the whole market linkage, because sometimes people want to come to us with the mind, oh, I believe in them. But when we want to empower the seed producer and give the client or the customer more trust or confidence to say, we have empowered farmers. You can also be in the same shoes tomorrow. So why not get from them? Whatever right now we're taking responsibility of whatever goes wrong in foundation seed producers fields. So we're looking at really strengthening that foundation seed production so that the production of breeders is not going to be a problem. And good thing we have technologies to ensure that we are churning out this new variety in numbers, as it were. So I think that's where we
yeah, really focusing more on the job, and then you have done your capacity development and strengthening the sector, and then really go to the heart of your business. That's nice.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your contribution, for your introduction, and also your responses. Let me now go to Mr. Brighton Karula. Let's go back to the grain seeds again. And it's really, I was really happy to see that Ecobasic Seed is now really running its business. You mentioned earlier, Mr. Brighton, that you're on the crops that you are working on. Can you explain us what brought you to make the decision to work on the two crops that you mentioned? You do hybrid maize and that you work on cowpea.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Walter. Yes, so yeah, why we went into crops like hybrid seed maize and PBR cowpea is because our incubator has actually directed us to focus on these two crops at this stage. I think as we go in future, we'll open up to other crops like rice, maybe sorghum, but in the hybrid space, not OPV.
Okay. Yeah. So in your business model, you and also with cowpea, you targeted a very specific type of varieties for cowpea. So you really look for the hybrid crops, and that I can understand also because to produce inbred lines is a very specialized job, as some of the others also are. So in producing hybrid inbred lines, forecasting is crucial. Can you explain a bit how the modality works for a seed company who want to acquire inbred lines for hybrid seed production? How do they? What kind of arrangement Ecobasic Seed has with its customers? Do they? How long in advance do they order the inbred lines for certain varieties or otherwise? Can you shine some light on that?
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, like in any setup, especially in business, a setup like this, we need to produce according to the demand by the customers. So obviously we have a marketing unit which try to approach these customers. Remember, let me just say also first of all say our customers are in three segments. The first segment is actually the seed companies who are already into the hybrid space, right? I think currently they are around 10 or so in the country. And then the next segment will be like the multinational companies. You talk of companies, let me mention names like Corteva, Seedco, Bayer. Some of them are using public materials, publicly bred materials, but a lot of them also are using their own proprietary materials. So this is another segment where we can actually work together. These guys will say, no, right, Ecobasic, you look to be, to understand this business very well, foundation seed production or EGS. Can you produce these lines for us? Whether they are public materials, bred materials, or their own materials. And we foresee this thing coming. I think in the US, there's a company called Remington. I think it's even entered Nigeria a few years back, 2-3 years ago. I think big companies, they are no longer even producing seed. Theirs is just distribution and marketing issues. So I'm sure this is where we are going. Anyway, the third category will be those companies who are occupying the OPV space. In Nigeria, there are a lot of companies. At one time, there were over 400 registered seed companies, but currently, I think there are just over 300 now. So a number of them, they are in the OPV space, open pollinated varieties. So this is another potential area where we need to convert. Remember, in my presentation, I mentioned about the demand creation. That demand creation, it means we have to do things like demonstrations for these seed companies. Obviously, farmers can also be involved, but our target audience will be, seed companies, so that we can convince them that if you grow these varieties, then you produce these varieties, you can make good business. Obviously, farmers have also to be involved. So that's how it works in terms of, us approaching this. So customers, once they approach, we approach them, then we will say, no, they will tell us what they want. The varieties, they are the ones who tell us the varieties they want to produce foundation seed for. So from there, normally at this stage, because also remember, Walter, in the audience, there's an issue of trust. I think we also need to, as we are developing the business, people need also to trust us. I think it will take time, it's a relationship, in a business relationship. So as we go into the future, we foresee these guys also being able to do a forecast for 2 or 3 years ahead. But currently it's just 1 year. So far, if I can tell you, we have 9 companies who have already placed orders against next year, because they cannot just come and tell us to say, no, we want the parent seed this season. It's not possible. Yeah, so they've already told us what they need ahead of next year.
So if they come as new customers, you give them, let's say, like 1 year, but if you have already a more mature relationship with them, then you think of a forecasting of 2-3 years, because that is what you actually need.
Yes, yeah, sure, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's it.
So in not in the current situation, but for EcoBasic seed, and I think for some of the other companies is also viable. So you need 2 to 3 years advance. Would such a system also require advance payments?
Yes, yeah, very good question, Walter. Yeah, the issue, I think, even in our business plan, it's well stated that we need to encourage our customers to do, to pay in advance. It's also an issue of commitment, show commitment, because people can just tell you, say, I want this, and then later on they say, no, there's nothing which is written, then you are stuck with that seed. You don't know where to put it. Yeah, so that's how it's actually working for us. Yeah.
So that you made it very clear. You need to develop first the capacity, you need to develop the relationship, and I think all the 4 examples do that. But if we really want to have a commercially viable and sustainable industry, we need to have that system where there's this relationship between the EGS specialized companies and the seed producer seed companies. That is a long-term relationship where there's forecasting, is advance payment. That's, I think, very interesting to see that even for cassava and the grain crops, this is a similar situation. So let me claim.
And also we encourage the customer. Sorry, we also have offer discounts for its advance payment. Say, for example, start 50% up to 100%. We have to also to give them or those discounts, to encourage others, to pay in advance. Yeah.
I think that's very logical as a new business that you move into that. So one final thing, final question before we go to the close is, how do you, because especially with the public varieties, not with the multinationals, how do you work with the breeders to get new varieties really into the system? Can you shine a little bit of light on that?
Oh, okay. Yeah, normally what we normally do is to place the orders. Remember, we get orders first from the seed companies, right? So when we get seed orders from the companies, we go back to the original supplier, who are the research institutes, whether ITA or the National Agricultural Research Institutes. So from there we tell them now to say no. We give them a forecast. At this stage, we're just working on 1 year as well.
So does this, sorry to interrupt. So the seed company comes with a variety, or that you can also be a vehicle to say, guys, you need to try this variety. Is more the seed companies themselves decide, come with the initiative to come with new varieties, for example?
Yes, we do that. Yeah. For example, I think recently, I will not mention the name of the company. They just said, no, can you do this variety for us? Then we go back to to the breeders to say, no, can we get some breeder seed? Normally we need at least 20-25 kgs per each line. Then from there we start bulking it as a foundation seed or EGS.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's also. So thank you very much for sharing your experience. I get some notices from the facilitators that it's about time to close. Okay. I want to thank the 4 panelists really for sharing their experience and also putting themselves. I want to appreciate actually because I was involved also in that study in 2016 to look at the landscape. And if you think where we are now in 2000 today, that we have 4 companies, quite independent, very different, covering different crops. I think a lot has changed in the 4 years or the 4 or 5 years that we are now. So, and it's very interesting, even though we talk different crops, each of you shared a similar experience of bringing capacity development, developing relationships. So you're all in that initial phase to foster the development of the sector. You partner with NASC, with research and other organizations, that because you're still in this initial phase. But I think Nigeria has set, with your entrepreneurship leadership of the 4 companies and others, have made many steps moving forward. And I really want to appreciate that. Appreciate the leadership in the different companies, but also national leadership of making these moves. Because we realize also in today's conversation that EGS is critical, but it can also be a catalyst for moving forward. I want to, these are my final words. I'm really happy we organized Ojogo today, this seminar. I want to give now the floor to Dr. Makinde from AGRA. I hope he is still on board. First, I want to congratulate him for the leadership in supporting some of the initiatives here that were mentioned here. And I would really like to give him the floor to share some closing remarks on today's webinar.
Yeah. So Dr. Makinde, you have the floor now for some final reflections. I hope Dr. Makinde is still with us. Dr. Makinde. It does appear he is not with us at the moment. Or
sorry, he is Ojogo. I think he's asking for unmute. Can the host please unmute him? Thanks.
Okay, host please unmute Dr. Makinde. Please, the host should kindly unmute Dr. Makinde for his reflection. I can see him, it's in the house.
Please let him go ahead and unmute himself now. Thanks.
Okay. All right. I think I'm unmuted here. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you, Dr. Makinde.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. First, let me seize the opportunity to thank the organizer, Mr. Ekim, and the team for the invitation and the opportunity to be part of the webinar. I'd also like to thank Walter. Thank you so much for those very kind words, greatly appreciated. And the distinguished panelists, and presenters for the beautiful insight and visibility that you have given us on the progress we've made on improving the supply of EGS in Nigeria. Now, the EGS is very critical, to sustaining seed business. And I'm happy, that we have seen this and we have taken the gauntlet. Now, I must also indicate that this is really the reason why AGRA, with the support, of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and other in the Partnership for Inclusive Agriculture Transformation in Africa, stepped in to support production of early generation seeds, the basics and the foundations. So yes, that's been acknowledged, by Dr. Walter, the support given to Value Basic and the Premier Seeds and now Eco Basic. So it's great to see that local entrepreneurs are already commercializing the space with a very strong business case and supporting with aggressive market development. I'm also happy to see that the National Agricultural Seed Council is taking advantage of the opportunity to assure an enabling environment for a sustainable EGS business. As we have all heard, the challenges are many, but they are not unsurmountable. It's clear that companies are on the way to reaching break-even point. I'm talking about commercial viability, but we are confident that things will continue to look up, and we can be hopeful that in a few years, we'll be sure that we are able to make Okay. And so happy that seed companies are seeing this as a good investment, and they will be prepared to give it what it takes to do it profitably and efficiently. Let's envisage what the landscape can look like in the next 5 years, and I'm so hopeful that we will be able to sustain the optimism of these businesses that are currently, in the space. So when we do that, we will be affirming our conviction that every farmer deserves good seed, and that we'll be using that to demonstrate our commitment to that conviction as well. If we don't get it right, the outcome is better imagined than experienced. So I want to really thank you all. I think the learning has been great. We've seen where the issues are, what else needs to be done for us to be able to change or improve the system. And we are confident that all of us working together, we will be able to take the seed sector to the point where we want to be. And this will, the availability of early generation seed will cease to be abiding constraints in the system. So thank you all for your time. Thank you for the vibrant participation. And I hope that next time we'll meet, we'll be able to move this further from where we are now. So again, thank you for the invitation. Have a pleasant day.
Thank you very much, Dr. Makinde. Dr. Makinde is a country manager for AGRA in Nigeria. Thank you very much. And he has emphasized here that EGS is critical for seed business to wrap it all. And NAS obviously is creating the enabling environment to ensure that the seed business thrive in Nigeria. And again, that all of us must give it all it takes, to sustain profitability and to ensure that we make remarkable progress in the Nigerian seed industry. And again, this must thrive on the pillars of partnership and collaboration, because we can't do it in isolation and in silence. Thank you very much. At this point in time, time is no more on our side. If there are more questions, probably you can address them to me. I'm going to put my email on the chat box with jecum@yahoo.com. Some of them will be answered. But again, I would like to also take one of the questions that was addressed to the Director General, talking about the informal seed sector. NAS is doing its work. If you listen to Dr. Messi, she said NAS didn't push out all of the informal sector. We have to see how we can build their capacity. NAS is working very hard to build the capacity of the informal sector, to bring them from the informal sector to become, formal, registering them, and they are growing, and we can see tremendous progress. Ladies and gentlemen, let me thank, I'll end that remark then, and thank the Director General for giving us the enabling environment, to host this national webinar. I want to thank the Collaborative Seed Program that has engineered this, by empowering us, in the background, and all the team from Sahel that have also enabled us to ensure that we are having a hitch-free webinar. The planning has been on, they've been working day and night, and the team at NAS. I want to also thank specifically the panelists, the speakers, Dr. Messi from IITA, Go Seed, Thank God from Umudike Seed, Branton from EcoBasic, Dr. Joe from Value Basic. And I want to also thank our facilitator, Dr. Walter, the Senior Seed System Advisor, Wageningen University of Netherlands. And thank you, Dr. Makinde, for always being there and giving us the support anytime we call on you. Now, the people I would going to thank most are all the giants in the seed industry who have participated in this event. And I can see a lot of questions that have been asked. A few of your questions will be answered after now. Others, the websites that have been sent to you, you will get, the information that you are requesting for. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll do this again. between now and October, just watch out the space. We'll come on board again, to discuss another very important issue as far as the seed sector is concerned. Just like Dr. Makinde was saying in his closing remarks, we need collaboration to move the seed sector to where it delivers gains, to the common farmer in Nigeria. Once again, thank you, participants. Thank you, everyone, and see more of you. And I want to promise you, the webinar recording will be made available at the Collaborative Seed Program website. You'll get the recordings there and all other information that is connected to this webinar. Thank you very much. Okay, before I go finally, the DJ is still here. Please, technical, can you unmute so that the DJ gives, his final closing remarks? Give the DJ the floor, please. DJ, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah,
and then put on your video as well, sir. Okay, thank you, sir.
The video is on.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Mine is just to remind all participants that the Seed Connect Africa, the largest convergence of seed industry in Africa, is coming out between 28th and 29th of November. And I'm using this medium once again to invite all of you to join us in order to move the seed industry in Nigeria and Africa forward. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much, my DG. Incidentally, the face-to-face national seed sector webinar or meeting will take a session in this all-important conference and expo coming up in November 28, 29. Watch the space. Make sure you register, to be part of it. It is loaded. It is loaded. It is gaining momentum from time to time. And again, I want to also say that for all of us who have attended, just note that you are members of the National Seed Platform for Nigeria. At any point in time, we'll get in touch with you. We depend on you to move this sector forward. Once again, thank you very much for attending. Thank you for your time, and God bless you. And long live Nigeria. Long live the seed sector in Nigeria. Thank you very much for being our guest.
Okay, congratulations and good facilitation.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.